Welcome to Atma Vichara, and today we're going to talk about transparency in international value chains and how that can help us transform these value chains into chains that are more self-organizing and adapting, and chains that improve the level of ethical performance on a continuous basis. One of the ways we think this can be done is by actually getting all your stakeholders in the chain to come together and sign something that's called a value chain manifesto. In a value chain manifesto, we define common core values and principles and best practices. One of the best practices we advise to enlist in a value chain manifesto is open costing. And we'll talk a little bit about the difficulties in open costing and the opportunities, in overcoming those difficulties. So what all can be achieved by open costing? First of all, why is it not done currently? And even if it's done, it's often done in an incomplete way. Open costing is very complex, especially if you're trying to include all the hidden costs, like the social costs, the environmental costs. Imagine if you would try to quantify how much does it cost the society, to clean up the air after we've polluted it, say burning wood in a wood-heated boiler for a dyeing factory, or how much would society have to pay because one of our accessory suppliers has subcontracted to somebody who is using child labor, and then the children can't go to school and they're a cost to society. All of that, how much does that actually translate to when we're talking about, say, one piece of garments? It's a scientifically really hard thing to do. So that's one reason why it doesn't happen. Second reason is that disclosing your costs does two things. For a buyer, it decreases your flexibility. You can no longer divide and rule as easily amongst your suppliers. And as a supplier, it decreases your flexibility in using costs as a tool in your negotiation. Even in ethical, organic, fair trade markets, costs are still a big competitive factor. So buyers will always go to suppliers that are deemed to be more efficient while complying with the same standards. So if you don't do open costing, you can still say, oh no, but I included such and such cost in my costing. If I don't include that, then my cost will come down. So you can play around with it. Whereas if you disclose all your breakups of your costing, you can't do that anymore. So it decreases your flexibility. Let me just check whether I've listed all the things that are ticky. We can cut others out. Okay, and one more last reason why it's not done is in open costing, you're asked to disclose everything. You can't change it easily afterwards. So what if something unexpected happens? Do I include a buffer for surprises? And if so, how much of a buffer am I allowed to include? In textiles, it's all about firefighting. Everything goes wrong all the time. So I can't guarantee that what I think is going to happen is actually going to happen while I'm executing the order. So the question is, how much of a buffer is allowed? So these are all reasons why open costing is not done and why it's difficult. Now let's look at why open costing should be done and what all is possible in open costing. First and foremost, open costing is a tool to build trust. So currently you can see we're in a vicious cycle where I'm not disclosing my costs, therefore you trust me less, because you trust me less, you act less trustworthy, so I trust you less, so I'm even less inclined to disclose and tell you my secrets. This is a vicious circle of less information and less trust. How do we transform this to a positive cycle of more disclosure, more information, and more trust? How does that work? So first, as soon as I disclose more information, it prompts other people to also disclose more information. And it creates it's a signal that I'm not afraid of what I'm doing. It's like a guarantee system in that sense. If you're disclosing, you're saying that you can come and check in my factory anytime. I have nothing to hide. I might not be perfect, but I'm disclosing all the information that is available right now. So it's a huge trust building factor. Second thing is that it actually allows the chain as a whole to learn. If we define the information as is available right now, we also see where the gaps are. Say, if I don't know how to cost a daycare center for my workers' kids, because maybe I don't know how to spread the cost over my different buyers. If I disclose this fact, the buyers can start thinking along with me, maybe I should get more buyers to collaborate in investing in your daycare center, or I can run a special campaign for my end customers, or other suppliers know that you're facing this problem and they can share their experiences. So the entire chain learns about how to deal with taking care of workers' kids. Right? So it's a tool for the chain as a whole to learn. Second of all, it's a tool for the chain as a whole to continuously improve standards. If you stick to standards that are defined by somebody else, you're always going to walk just on the edge of what is allowed. Whereas if you start disclosing what's happening, you and all the actors in your chain can together learn about where could we go as a chain, what could we do better next, and you could develop your own standards within your chain. This is another critical part of your value chain manifesto. So, summing up, the opportunities of open costing are you could build more trust amongst both your buyers as well as your suppliers, and thereby improve your trading relationships. You can actually develop your own standards, which will give you, as a chain, a huge competitive advantage. Finally, I want to say something about the context in which we operate as a value chain. We are all part of society at large, and society at large wants certain things to happen. And if society sees that we as a chain are putting our foot first, we're showing that we can be authentic and genuine and transparent, it will reward us in unexpected ways. And I've seen this happen over and over again. And I just want to close with a quote from a professor who's done a lot of research on this at MIT in the US, called Otto Scharmer. He wrote a book called Presencing, and he calls this leading from the future as it emerges. It's actually working with what wants to happen. And at Atma Vichara, we're a great believer in this, and we invite you to work with us and experience this for yourself. Thank you very much.